In our last video, we met Mr. Salvatore, leader of the Salvatore crime family in New Reno. We were sent there by Big Jesus Mordino to assassinate him, but instead, we decided to work for him for a bit. We killed a guy named Pretty Boy Lloyd who robbed him, explored all the graves in Golgotha, and now he wants us to head to the other side of town to extract a loyalty payment from a guy named Renesco. This was the guy Zayus told us that we could get a mine part from to repair the filter in the uranium mine at Broken Hills. So we've got a lot to chat with this guy about. On the other side of town, we see a large building with a bunch of junkies standing around outside. They beg us for money and chat, and we find even more loitering around inside. We see a number of countertops and shelves in this room, but they're all empty. We find 2 bathrooms to the northwest, but they're all empty too. Now, the point of interest is behind a large fence in the northeast corner of the building. Opening a door to the fence, we enter Renesco's pharmacy. The old man pushes his broken glasses up on his nose and sighs in exasperation. Yes, what is it that you want? Come on, man, out with it. Who are you, we can ask? And he says, me? Oh, I'm just Jolly St. Nick, you cranily challenged halfwit. St. Nick, we can say. Who the hell is that? And Renesco pauses. Another postnatally aborted wreck in a post-Holocaust world replete with idiot man-children. He raises his fist. Out of my shop! Out at once! Don't you come back, you hear? We find a number of ways to anger this cranky old guy. Instead of saying, who's St. Nick, we can say, look, I'm gonna let your comment slide this time. Now, who are you? And he glares at us, then snorts. Name's Renesco. Just tell me what it is you want, whatever it is you are. And then he squints at us. You look like one of those sun-worshipping primates under all that getup. And we can say, oh yeah, well, I am from a village to the northwest, Arroyo. And Renesco glares at us again, this time in silence. But we can continue. I think you'd like Arroyo. It's a peaceful village, except for the plants possessed by evil spirits, and of course the Temple of Trials, filled with those deadly spear traps and the man-eating giant rats. Renesco continues to glare at us. And sometimes the elder gets upset at little things like that one night when I ignored my vow of celibacy and snuck out with Reno, whose legs crushed with strength of 1,000 snakes to the Arroyo Canyon, and Renesco gives us a withering stare. It was like yesterday, we can continue. Rena's body glowed like silver in the moonlight when she knelt down and, hey, you know what? You might like the elder. She's about your age. Renesco continues to glare at us as if he could somehow make us disappear just by imagining it hard enough. Did I mention Arroyo was founded by my ancestor, the Holy Vault Dweller? He made a legendary journey from the south after defeating a great evil. We puff up our chest and stare proudly into the distance. Now I am the deliverer of my tribe, chosen to search for the Holy Gek. Gek? Says Renesco. As in Garden of Eden Creation Kit? Comes with a basic replicator unit, holodisc reader with selections from the Library of Congress, and a little pen flashlight? We can say it is said to be sealed within Vault 13, or so the legends say. Do you know of such a place? And he says, hell no, primate. I've heard of vaults, sure, but not Vault 13. Closest thing is Vault City to the northeast. And if those aristocratic jackanapes inhabited a vault once, they sure as hell don't live there now. Vaults, we can ask? There is more than one vault? And he says, why do you think it's called Vault 13, Spear Chucker? What? Was your tribe short on brains, or do you just perform ritual lobotomies to cleanse the tiny voice of reason that speaks in your head? Our only options here end the conversation. So going back, and instead of asking him if he knows where Vault 13 is, we can choose either of the top 2 options, both of which get the same response from Renesco. Yes, we can say that is the Gek I'm talking about, but that's not important right now. I haven't finished telling you about Arroyo. And he says, your backwater herb-smoking village be damned, and you along with it. Why is a primate like you looking for a Gek? Arroyo, we can say, my backwater herb-smoking village, as you say, is having trouble with its crops. The Gek is needed to restore them. And he says, it sure could do that easy. If you could find one. Don't even know where you'd start looking. NCR or Vault City, maybe. I doubt they have one. Still, we can say? And he says, still, those self-righteous bastards might be able to point you in a direction if they speak slowly and use small words. And we can say, why would the Gek not be in Sacred Vault 13? The scriptures say that the Gek is sealed within the Sacred Vault 13. And Renesco glares at us. It looks like he's undressing you mentally, then tearing us limb from limb. Or instead we can say, NCR or Vault City, you say? I'll go in search of these places and ask their villagers about the Gek. Thank you. And he responds by saying, if you're going to Vault City, don't thank me, primate. You're better off in New Reno. At least the people who are sizing you up for a coffin are honest about it. Instead of boring this poor guy with talk of our tribal village, we can ask him, what do you sell here? And he says, I sell recreational chems mostly. That's why they gave me that idiotic appellation, the Rocket Man. Humph. I also sell some caravan supplies. You need anything? Or can I get back to something important? And the Chosen One can say, you sell chems here in the store? And Renesco looks at us in disgust. Yes, in the store. This isn't the 20th century where chems are sold by street corner cockroaches who live in constant fear of the authorities. Well then, we can say, and he says, this is New Reno! There are no cops, no law, and there's plenty of customers who don't mind buying poison at the pharmacy down the street. Does that answer your question, primate? And the Chosen One can say, but like you said, the chems are poisonous. They kill the spirit. Doesn't it bother you to sell them? And he says, does it bother me to sell them to idiots, slavers, crime lords, and tribals that the world would be better off without? Primate, 3 words. Get out more. And the Chosen One can say, but the chems here in New Reno are finding their way to other places and hurting the people there. Doesn't that concern you? And he says, so? What do I care about them? The human race has suffered horrible tragedy, we can say. Now we are trying to rebuild. Selling Jet seems counterproductive to that reconstruction. So what? No one is forcing those idiots to inhale Jet. No one's going around jamming it down their throats, he says. But don't those lamphead rock humpers in Redding know what they're taking, so I don't feel a millimeter of pity for them. Far as I'm concerned, Jet weeds out the human trash that should have died when the bombs dropped. You mentioned Redding specifically, we can say. Why is Jet so prevalent in Redding? And he says, well, Redding's a special case. See, there's people in Reno who make sure Redding's well supplied. After all, you taste Jet once, you're hooked. It's how I make my living. Who's making sure Redding is well supplied, we can ask, and why? And he says, well, Tribal, I doubt you have the sense to notice this yet, but New Reno doesn't produce anything useful. It's like a big, brightly lit prairie tick sitting out in the desert. Now, Redding, on the other hand, does produce something useful. We can finish his sentence. And Renesco stops us. First and last time I'm gonna warn you, Tribal, don't finish my doggone sentences. I don't like smart-ass primates that talk when they should listen. No wonder you all still use spears. Not all of us, we can say. For example, I use a variety of weapons to kill people. Let me show you. But that just ends the conversation, and Renesco says, get out of here! So instead of finishing his sentence, we can ask him to go on. He continues, Redding has a stable workforce that mines raw materials, mostly gold. New Reno sure could use that gold. Somebody figures all we gotta do is get those miners hooked, and we got 'em for life. You understand now? Who's trying to hook all the miners, we can ask? And he says, Big Jesus Mordino's funneling Jet into Redding. Typical power play. Once the pipeline really gets going, those miners are goners. Where did Jet come from, we can ask. And he says, we have one person to thank for Jet. You heard of Family Mordino's little golden boy Myron? Well, the little bastard created Jet. Big Jesus Mordino just let everyone know where they could get it. Tell me more about Myron, we can ask. And he says, horny as a toad and all the morals of one. Smart kid, though. High IQ. Wasting his brains manufacturing chems, that's for damn certain. Where can I find him, we can ask? And he says, the Mordinos got him locked up somewhere. Heavily guarded, probably. Don't know exactly where. Is there any cure for Jet, we can ask? And he says, a cure for methamphetamine reliance? Ha! I only know two, and one is death. The other is locking yourself in a cage for a year without Jet and sweat it out of your system. Humph. Cure my ass. What nonsense. After getting to know good old Renesco here, we can barter with him. He has a small amount of money, some Jimmy hats, and a pretty extensive selection of cams. But it's important that we don't buy anything now, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Next, we can say, I'm looking for some mine parts for Broken Hills. And his eyes narrow. So? Well, we can say, I need the parts to fix the air purifier in the mine. I was told you could help me. And he says, yes, I do happen to have some parts that could fix the air purifier. $100. How about $50, we can say? And if we fail the barter check, he frowns. $200 or nothing. 200, we can say. You said 100 a second ago. Inflation due to managerial irritation with hagglers, he says. 200 or nothing. I'll take it, we can say. Here you go. And he hands it over. Here you go, he says. Don't drop them. With that, we pay Renesco the $200 for some mine parts. You see a bunch of parts that are clearly labeled GX9 air purifier. Using your incredible deductive skills, you decide that they're probably parts for a broken air purifier. It weighs 10 pounds. Well, great, now we can head back to Broken Hills. But before we do, we can talk with Renesco about Mr. Salvatore's tribute. I've come to collect Mr. Salvatore's tribute, we can ask. Then you wasted a trip, he says. I paid Mr. Salvatore his tribute 2 weeks ago, as per the schedule. I don't know who you are and what you think you're doing, but you aren't getting one red chip from me. Get. I am Mr. Salvatore's representative, we can respond. You will give me the tribute I have asked for, and you will do so now. You lose your hearing, boy, says Renesco. I said I paid the tribute already 2 weeks ago. If you were really from Salvatore, you would know that. Now get! Instead of attacking, we can say, you're the one who's lost your hearing. I am Mr. Salvatore's representative, and you will pay the tribute. Prove you're from Salvatore, he says, and I'll consider giving you the chips, else you aren't getting crap. I don't need to prove myself, we can say. I am his representative, and that is all you need to know. Humph, he says. Don't matter, I can't pay. The last collection nearly wiped me out. That's not my concern, we can say. You will get me the money now. Mr. Salvatore does not want to hear your excuses. Threatening me ain't gonna help, says Renesco. Mr. Salvatore wants his money. I don't have it. He'll be mad at me, but he'll be mad at you too. Salvatore doesn't like people who let him down. You better figure something out quick. And a witty chosen one can say, I already have. I will pay your share of this period. In exchange, you will give me a discount at your store. Now, hold on, you Neanderthal, he says. But the chosen one can say, I will not argue with you anymore. My patience is at an end. Those are my terms. And he says, look now, all right then. You get a discount. When we're ready, we can say, let me see your stock. I will make my purchases now. And with that, the trade dialogue goes up, and we can buy everything in his inventory for $1. However, this only works once. The next time we barter with him, everything is full price. So we have one opportunity to buy as much of his inventory for $1 as we can carry, which means it's probably smart to dump all of our junk onto our companions before talking with Renesco. Remember, as per the deal we just made, we now have to pay Mr. Salvatore out of our own pockets. So it's important to walk away with as much of Renesco's inventory as possible. While we're on this side of town, we might as well explore some of the other buildings here. Heading directly south, we find a building with a heart on it. It appears to be a church, and behind the pulpit is Father Tully. Greetings, my son. What is it Father Tully can do for you on this fine Reno day? It's actually nighttime, Father, we can say. Al must have overslept. Would have noticed otherwise. What the hell was I saying? Who are you? We can ask. And he says, Father Tully, at your service. I'm the spiritual advisor to the to the people of New Reno. Is being drunk the only way that you can accomplish that, we can ask? And he says, certainly not. In the past, I was known to indulge in the spirits, but the Temperance Union has helped me break the filthy habit. The temp? We can ask. And he says, now I on the straight and narrow, thanks to Mrs. Wright, bless her soul. I've been clean for almost, a month. Or was it a week? Oh, hell, I don't know. Temperance Union, we can ask? Temperance Union. Mrs. Wright, same person. Trying to clean up New Reno. Done a pretty good job with me. Dry as sand, huh? How many fingers am I holding up? And he stares at our hand. Is that 6? Or is that 3? Very good, we can say both of those are right. Say, I had some other questions. Questions? Can't say I know too much about them, but ask away. Have you heard of Vault 13? Vault 13? No idea. Well, I mean, there's Vault City to the northeast. That what you're looking for, maybe? Yes, we can say. Pardon me for asking, but do you happen to have a bottle on you? I need some for the services, and my throat's a little dry. With that, he refuses to talk further with us unless we give him some booze. I didn't have any at the time, so I said, I could go snag some if you want. And he says, now there's a fine idea. May you be thrice blessed. I happen to know a place on the east side at the train station that sells the kind of holy water I need. Now, despite him saying that, we don't have to get booze from the east side of town. We can bring him any booze. So coming back with booze in hand, we can get him to answer a question. It costs 1 booze for each question he answers. Say, Father Tully, I brought some hooch. Can we talk for a moment? And he says, well, now, most certainly. And he takes the bottle. Don't usually touch the stuff, you know. Sorry, what was I saying? And from here we can ask him about each of the crime families. We may be going over some information we already know, but it's good to learn what each character in New Reno thinks about these crime bosses. You were talking about the family Salvatore, we can say. And he says, I was talking about the Salvatores? And then he blinks, shrugs, then drinks. Can't imagine what I was saying. Family is as silent as death. And you don't want to cross them either. You know why? No, we say. And he lumbers on drunkenly. 'Cause they got weapons like fires from heaven. Weapons no one's ever seen before in New Reno or nowhere. Shoot beams of light, cut a man in 2, leave him twitching in the dust. Shoot beams of light? You mean laser weapons? That's what I heard them call them, lasers. But to me, the weapons are the devil's own. Foul light bringers, Tools meant for nothing but death. Yes, of course, Father. Tools of the devil and all that. What do the other families think of the Lightbringers? One of them Lightbringers can kill 12 men. Other families used to fight with the Salvatores, but now no one messes with them. It's a piece of sorts. Good as long as it holds out, I suppose. Who's in charge of the Salvatores, Father? Luis Salvatore runs the show. Cripple. He needs an oxygen tank to keep breathing. His lungs are messed up. Stays at the top floor of his place. Never comes out. Interesting. Can I ask you some other questions, Father? And Father Tully glances at the now empty bottle in his hand. Say, don't mean to impose, friend, but would you happen to have another bottle of that fine vintage on you? All this talking is making me parched. And we can give him another bottle. And this time we'll ask him about the family bishop. The bishops, right? Power hungry is a lot of them. It's in the blood. Thing is, old John Bishop is so concerned about taking over everything. He ain't taking care of business at home. Business at home, we can ask? Don't give 2 seconds to his wife and daughter. No wonder both of them have grown up wild. All comes out in the confessional, you know. Oh, we can say. And what does Mr. Bishop say in the confessional? Well, not much, but I hear things outside the confessional about Bishop. Crafty devil. Got iron balls, he does. Must clink when he walks. I figure he's behind those raids on Vault City. You heard about those? Wait, the raids on Vault City? Yeah, we've heard about those. Stark asked us if we could track down those raiders. But wait a minute, Bishop is behind the raids? We'll feign ignorance to see if we can get more out of this guy. No, I've never heard about those, we can say. And Father Tully ignores us. See, a few months back, old Bishop sends a caravan to Vault City, suggesting a marriage of convenience between Vault City and New Reno. I trust they didn't reach an agreement, we can say. And he says, now, Vault City told him to stick it up his poop chute. So, not long after, Vault City starts getting raided. Fast, hard, and all the while, right there is Bishop telling him, I could help if you join with New Reno. So, blackmails Bishop's game, eh, we can say. A few raids, a few deaths, and Vault City might be ready to be friends with New Reno. Not too subtle, but effective. Well, what does Mrs. Bishop say in the confessional? Mostly what you'd expect from a neglected wifey-o, with a body whose curves could cure the blind. Mostly adultery. I mean, have you seen her rack? My word. Ugh. Starting to think that this father isn't very good at his job. Well, what does Bishop's daughter say in the confessional, we can ask? And he says, oh, sweet little Angela. Little hellion, more like it. Girl's got too much of devil in her britches. Always floozing around, banging her father's help and pumping herself full of jet. Jet, we can ask? Devil's blood, wickedness, foul secretion from the very teat of evil. So you don't like jet then, we can notice. That drug will be the death of us. Can't think of another drug that does more damage than jet. Kills the mind and the body. Damn Mordinos. What was that about the Mordinos, we can say? The Mordinos? And he holds up 3 fingers. There's 2 of them. And he holds his hand up high. Big Jesus. And then he holds his hand down low. And little Jesus. The Father and the Son. They control the drugs and the woman in Reno. Tell me a little about Big Jesus, we can ask. Jesus? Oh, he's one bad mother. Deals in slaves, jet, and whores. Only person worse than him is his filthy son. His son, we can ask. Little Jesus? Bastard. He's like a prairie tick, sucking blood from his dad's work. Be trouble for all of Reno if he took charge. Couldn't hold it together. Drugs, whores, all fall down. The Mordinos are the source of drugs and most of the whores in New Reno? Yes. Then he smiles and licks his lips. Whores. Then he begins stroking the neck of the bottle. Great. Father, about the drugs, we can say. And he says, drugs? Yes, the drugs. Jet. Filthy jet. Do horrible things with it. Horrible. Redding. The stables. All for gold. What was that about Redding, we can say? And he makes a walking motion with his 2 fingers. Jet leaves town, goes to Redding. Gold leaves Redding, goes to Mordino. Miners die, Mordinos lie. What was that you were saying about the stables? Mordinos have a farm outside of town. Keeps slaves there, tests jet on them, kills them in droves. Whew. Only the Mordinos know where the stables are. Next, we can pay him a beer to talk about the Wright family. Right, eh? He smiles and wiggles his eyebrows. Let me tell you a little something about the Wrights. They're a split bunch of horny drunks and stone-fast Puritans, they are. Oh, really, we can ask? Those Wrights just keep squeezing out kids. Old Orville Wright must want to repopulate the world. Hope Mrs. Wright can take the strain. And the things they say in the confessional. Oh, really, we can say? What does Mrs. Wright say in the confessional? Ethel Wright, that blessed woman, keeps me off the drink and on the straight and narrow. She can drive the sin out of you, she can. But what the hell was I saying? About Mrs. Wright in the confessional. Oh, right. Well, in the confessional, she ain't got much to say. Mostly guilt about stepping on bugs or about enjoying sex with her hubby too much. I love guilt. Well, what does Orville Wright say in the confessional? Oh, Orville? Well, he's got a little guilt on his shoulders. See, he promised the missus he'd quit the alcohol biz. But he has a secret still in the train station behind the house. She'll beat him uglier than he is if she finds it. What does the Wright family control in New Reno, we can ask? Nothing. They're the weakest of the families because they only brew alcohol. Barely turn a cent, they do. The other families buy alcohol off of them mostly out of pity. Now, if we married Davin or Miria while visiting Modoc, we can get a legal divorce from Father Tully. This is the only way aside from killing them to get rid of them. We find an option to say, Father Tully, huh? Can you do divorces? Devil take me. Course I can. Reno was the divorce capital even for the big one. This the filly you want to break vows with? You bet, says the chosen one. Can we start now? And he says, well, I seem to have misplaced my sermon book with all the official stuff. Here's some hooch, says the chosen one. Can you just make something up? Sure. Let me just polish this off, get the fire going. All right, then. Step up to the podium, you two. All right, listen up. By the power divested in me, I divorce ye. You may now kick the bride, groom, whatever. And then he makes a sweeping motion. Ugh. And I told you I loved you, says Miria, racing off. I tried to follow her, but she just disappeared. Father Tully went to his bedroom and collapsed. Oh, bless you, my blab. Drank too much of that blood of... Oh, God. Yeah. Maybe I'll just lay down for a little while. Incidentally, because with Myron in our party, he's always saying, let's get more women in this chicken crap outfit. If we travel with Miria, he'll constantly say things like, Miria's kinda cute. Can I, well, you know, how about it? Or, so you and Miria, are you both free to see other people, or... Yeah, one more reason to get rid of the wife. So, Mr. Wright has a secret still under the train station on the east side of town, and Mr. Bishop is responsible for the raids on Vault City. I wonder if we can find any proof of that. We'll be back to talk with Father Tully again after we beat the primary quest in the game. Once we do, he has a present for us. But we'll cover that later. On the ground near to the lectern is the poor box. If we want to, we can steal $10, but I don't think I have it in me. Moving into the room adjacent, we find Father Tully's filthy bedroom. His bed is a mess, and there's junk all over the floor, and we find nothing of value in any of his containers. We have a few more things to do here on the west side before we turn in the quest for the Salvatore clan, but I am all out of time. Never fear, we'll pick up with the rest of the west side of New Reno in tomorrow's episode. I publish many videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have and you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning with the next episode in the story of New Reno.